Hello, welcome to this lesson where I'm going to show you various techniques that you can use in order to find an infinitive form of a Kinyarwanda verb. In case you do not know, Kinyarwanda verbs fall in three categories, which are gu, ku, and kw verbs or kwa verbs. Here is a batch of conjugated Kinyarwanda verbs. So my question to you is, would you be able to tell which verb is a gu verb or which verb is a ku or kw verb? Just take your time and look and tell me if you'd be able to do that. I bet it is impossible for you to do that unless if you are a native Kinyarwanda speaker. However, the good news is that at the end of this lesson, you will be able to tell and distinguish these verbs and map them correctly in their corresponding category. Let's start with finding the infinitive form of a Kinyarwanda's kw verb. It is really simple. In order to know if a verb is a kw verb, you should look whether it starts with vowels. And we've got 5 vowels in Kinyarwanda, which are a, e, o, u. So if a verb starts with either of these vowels, automatically you have to know that it is a kw verb. So let me show you some examples. As you can see on this table, we've got kwiga. That means to learn or to study. This verb starts with e. That means it's a kw verb. You can see it's a kw verb. And then we've got kwanga. That means to refuse or to hate. So just like it's a precedent, this verb starts with a, and that means it's a kw verb. It is the same for kwogosha, which means to shave, and kumva, which means to hear. Okay, so it is really simple, and this is the technique that you use in order to find a kw verb or kwa Kinyarwanda verb. So one more thing to mention before we go to the subsequent categories of Kinyarwanda verb, it is the subject pronouns. So we've got n, w, y, tw, mng, va for I, you, he or she, we, you, and they. Okay? Now let's move to the next category. Alright, it is not as simple as the kw verb, and for us to be able to find the to find out or figure out whether a verb is a gu or ku verb, I invented something called gu and ku verb sequences. So while doing various research on these verbs, I found out that ku verb can only start with va, da, ga, ja, ma, na, ra, va, ya, za. I'm reading those letters in Kinyarwanda. So these are the only letters or consonants which can start a ku verb. So if you will ever encounter a verb which starts with any of these consonants which are in the blue stripe, then you have to know that those are the ku verbs. Okay? And all the gu verbs have one thing in common, and they start with si or cha, fa, ha, ka, pa, sa, ta. So that is how you find out whether a verb or a Kinyarwanda verb is a gu verb. Okay, so I actually invented some words which I used in order to find whether a verb is a good verb, and if it's not a good verb and it's not a KW verb, because KW verb are simple to find, then it is a cool verb. Okay, so for good verb I do use words like chief, hacker, pistol, because we have C for chief, chief, H for ha, K for car, P for piste. So chief, hacker, pistol. Those are the words that I use in order to find out whether it's a quick way that I use to know that a verb is a good verb. So you can use your own words, or maybe you can use my technique, chief, hacker, pistol, to find out if a verb is a good verb, and then if it's not a good verb it will be a cool verb, unless if it's a KW verb and it's starting with a consonant. Now let's look at some examples. We'll start giving examples related to good verb. As you can see, we've got guchukura, that means to dig. It's starting with C in chief, so it's a good verb. And then we've got gukanga, that means to scare. Guchukura means to dig, yeah. Gukanga, that means to scare. To scare, ka here, it's in the category of ku. Chief ha k, yeah. And then we've got guseka, that means to laugh or to smile. So this also is a good verb, because chief haka pis s pisto. S, it's in the category of gu, and then we've got gutanga, that means to give, and it is a good verb. As you can see, it's not complicated. So if you memorize my technique or find some of the words, the representative words which will help you to find out the good verb, you can just focus on those for good verb. You don't have to memorize for the cool verb, because the KW verb is already simple. It starts with vowels, and just focus on your words which you use to find your representative letters for the good verb. And if it's not a good verb, it will be a cool verb. Okay. So there is also one thing to mention here. As you can see, I separated this table into two parts. The lower part, we've got gufata, that means to take, and we've got guhiga, that means to hunt, and we've got gupfa, that means to die. All of these verbs, they are the gu verb. But why did I separate them? It's because when a verb, a Kinyarwanda verb, in this case the gu verb, starts with letter F or H or P, the first person of singular subject's pronoun will change from N to M. That is really important when you are conjugating Kinyarwanda verbs. So it will come over and over again. You have to memorize that. So the first person of singular subject pronoun do change from N to M. Now let's look at ku verbs. So we've got some examples here. Kudoda, that means to sew. And as you can see, D, it's in blue here, it's a ku verb. Kugenda, that means to walk. You can see G or ga, it is a ku verb. And we've got kujugunya, that means to throw. Kunywa, that means to drink. Kurira, that means to cry. Kuyora, that means to scoop. Kuzunguza, that means to spin or to rotate. All of these verbs are ku verb because they are starting with a ku representative letter. You can check for yourself. So that is how you find a ku verb. The same thing happens for kubona, that means to see. Kumena, that means to spill or to crush or to dump. We also got kuvuna, that means to break, and kumnyasa, that means to blink. these verbs, these letters are also on the list of the letters that are permissible for the ku verb, and these verbs are ku verb. However, when a verb, a ku verb starts with b or va or ma or va or ma. Yeah, ma, we already mentioned that. I just repeated it. The first person of singular subjects pronoun will turn from n to m. So these are exceptions that you should really memorize, and apart from that, everything should be fine. I hope that that explanation was really simple to follow. If there is something you did not really catch, you can feel free to just rewind back couple of minutes and listen to the theory, and it should really be easy for you. Now let's bring back again that previous example and see if you are confident enough to be able to separate these verbs and tell their category. Okay, you can either respectively answer them in the comment section, and then I'm going to show you the answer now. Are you ready? Okay, so let's start with chukura. As you can see, C, it is in chief hacker. C, that means it is a gu verb. And then kanga, that means scare. So the infinitive will be to scare. In Kinyarwanda, we will have K, it is chief hack K. Okay, chief hacker. K, it is a ku verb. It's a gu verb, I'm sorry. And then we've got seka. What is S? S also, you see in magenta here, it is also a gu verb. So in infinitive form, it would be guseka. So we would have here the first verb, we would have guchukura, gukanga, guseka. So these are all gu verb. How about be or ba? So ba, it's in blue here, and that is, it is not in chief haka pistol. That means it is and it does not start with a vowel. That means it is a ku verb. So I hope that was really easy for you to understand. Thank you so much for watching this lesson. Please do not forget to subscribe to our channel, like our videos, and share them with your friends. You can follow us on Instagram by clicking the link in the description below and check various posts that we've got there for you, or you can follow us on Facebook by clicking the link in the same description box and get to leverage those valuable contents that we've got there as well. That's all for today. See you next time. Nahuta.